Act like you're already a millionaire. Now I know what you're thinking. I can't act like one. I'm not one. I've got bills, responsibilities, maybe even debt. But listen carefully. I'm not telling you to pretend. I'm telling you to align your behavior with your potential. Because success doesn't begin when you get the money. It begins when you adopt the mindset. If you want to change your financial life, the first transformation can't be in your wall. It has to be in your mind. Who you are internally will always shape what you earn externally. You don't become wealthy and then suddenly feel worthy. You feel worthy first, you behave accordingly, and eventually the income catches up. That's why acting like a millionaire isn't about arrogance. It's about alignment. It's about stepping into the identity of someone who is ready for success mentally, emotionally, spiritually, even before the results show up on the surface. Think about it. When someone hands $1 million to a person who has the mindset of a broke man, what happens? The money leaves. But if you take everything from someone with a millionaire's mindset, they'll get it all back. Why? Because success isn't a destination, it's an identity. You don't rise to your dreams. You fall to your self-image. The person who sees themselves as disciplined, resourceful, committed, and valuable will behave differently. They walk into a room differently. They respond to failure differently. They take risks others run from, not because they're better, but because they believe differently, and belief drives behavior. Take the example of someone like Elon Musk. Before he became the richest man on the planet, he was sleeping on a friend's couch and pouring every last dollar into companies no one believed in. He didn't wait until SpaceX launched or Tesla turned a profit to start thinking like someone building the future. He already believed he had the identity of a game changer. That belief shaped every sacrifice, every late night, every bold decision. He wasn't reacting to what he had, he was responding to who he knew he was. That kind of identity breeds consistency. People who don't yet see themselves as successful tend to operate from emotion. They try something new, get excited, hit a wall, and quit. But people with a strong identity don't need motivation to stay in the game. They operate from a sense of who they are. It's the difference between dabbling and committing. When you're dabbling, you need to feel good to take action. But when you've adopted a higher identity, you take action even when it hurts, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one's watching. That's the behavior of someone who's not trying to get rich, but who is simply walking out the path of a millionaire in the making. The moment you decide to step into that identity, your decisions change. You no longer entertain distractions. You no longer tolerate mediocrity. You start choosing growth over comfort, and you begin treating time like it's more valuable than money, because it is. People often say they'll change when the money comes in, but the truth is, money only magnifies what's already there. If you're undisciplined with a $1,000 paycheck, a $1,000 windfall won't fix that. It'll just expose it. You can already tell who someone is becoming by how they act now when there's nothing flashy to show for it. Are they training their mind daily? Are they learning to lead themselves? Are they building habits of excellence even when no one's clapping? The identity of a millionaire isn't about owning a mansion or driving the car. It's about taking ownership of your choices every single day. A millionaire identity shows up in how you carry yourself. It's visible in the way you speak, not just to others, but to yourself. Do you speak like someone who's in control of their future, or like someone hoping to get lucky? It's also in the way you handle challenges. When someone with a broke mindset faces failure, they see it as proof that they should give up. When someone with a millionaire mindset hits the same wall, they see it as feedback. They ask better questions. What can I learn from this? What needs to change? How can I come back stronger? That's the shift. That's the difference between wishing and becoming. There's a story about a young man who wanted to be a high-level executive. He dressed sharp, always early, carried a notepad, and volunteered for tasks others avoided. At the time, he was working in the mailroom. But within 3 years, he was promoted multiple times and ended up managing a department. Why? Not because of a fancy degree, not because he got lucky, because he behaved like the position he wanted before anyone gave it to him. He was operating from identity, not income. This is the secret no one tells you. Your current environment does not have the final say. Your current bank balance does not define you. Your past does not limit you. But your self-image, your identity, is the thermostat. It controls the temperature of your entire life. And until you raise the thermostat, you'll keep falling back to the level you feel you belong at, no matter how much effort you put in. So the first step to becoming wealthy isn't chasing money. It's becoming the kind of person who is ready to handle it. Hard work alone is not the secret to wealth. If hustle was all it took, the hardest working people on earth would be the wealthiest. But we know that's not how it works. There are millions of people grinding day and night, doing 3 jobs, wearing themselves out, and still barely getting by. Effort matters, yes, but direction, systems, and habits matter more. Success doesn't come from how hard you work in a single day. It comes from what you consistently do every day, especially when no one's watching. That's the power of habits. They shape your future in silence. A millionaire doesn't wait to feel like it. They build routines that work even when motivation fades. They've designed their days around systems, not emotion. Discipline is what builds the foundation. Habit is what keeps it standing. Take financial management. Most people say they want to be wealthy, but they don't track their spending. They avoid looking at their bank account. They don't have a plan for what to do with money before they get more of it. That's not a money problem, it's a habit problem. A millionaire has habits for money. They know what's coming in, what's going out, and where it's going to grow. They don't leave it to chance. They don't hope it works out. They systemize it. This applies to time as well. A wealthy mindset treats time with more seriousness than money, because time is the only thing you can't get back.
If you study high performers, you'll notice something. Their calendars are structured. They plan their mornings. They block off time to think, to read, to grow.
They don't run their lives on accident. They design their days like an architect designs a building, with precision, vision, and discipline. That's why hustle alone will never be enough. Hustle gets you tired. Habits get you transformation. There's a reason top athletes rehearse the same drills every day. They don't say, "I'll practice when I'm in the mood." Champions become champions because their actions are tied to habits, not hype.
They trust the process even when it's boring, even when it's hard. Now look at someone who's just chasing the next big thing. They jump from idea to idea, looking for the shortcut. They work long hours, but there's no system. They say yes to everything. They live in reaction, not intention. They confuse activity with progress. And eventually, they burn out, not because they didn't try, but because they never built anything sustainable. This is why it's better to be consistent than intense. Anyone can have a burst of motivation, but what builds legacy is repetition. Let's look at reading. Most people scroll for hours every day, consuming content that gives them nothing. But millionaires invest their mental energy into ideas that expand their thinking. They read books, listen to thought leaders, study business models, not because they're forced to, but because it's who they are. Learning is not an event, it's a habit. In fact, a study by Tom Corley on self-made millionaires showed that 85% read 2 or more books per month, mostly on topics like leadership, self-improvement, or finance. That's not accidental. That's a strategic habit that sharpens the mind and feeds long-term vision. Success is rarely about doing something huge one time. It's about doing something small, meaningful, and consistent over time until the compounding effect becomes visible. Take health, for example. Wealthy individuals don't ignore their body while chasing money. They understand that energy is a resource. A tired mind makes poor decisions. A sick body kills momentum. So they build routines around movement, nutrition, sleep. Not because they're obsessed with fitness, but because they know discipline in one area spills into all others. One strong habit in the morning can change the way you make decisions all day. Waking up early with purpose, reviewing your goals, spending time in focused solitude that creates momentum, that gives you control. It's the difference between entering the day like a soldier or stumbling into it like a wanderer. If you want to know where your life is headed, look at what you do daily without thinking. That's your future on autopilot. Your habits are either a system that leads to freedom or a trap that leads to regret. Don't wait to have the perfect setup. Start where you are. Start small, but start. Build one habit that reflects the future you're creating. Track your time, read 10 pages a day. Journal your decisions. Save a small percentage, make one call you've been avoiding. Consistency will do what motivation cannot. So the question isn't, are you working hard enough? The real question is, are you building systems that will work even when you're not at your best? Because hustle may open the door, but habits are what keep it open. Growth doesn't happen in isolation. A seed doesn't grow just because it wants to, it grows because the soil is fertile, the light is present, and the surroundings support it. The same is true for people. You may have the drive, the dream, and the talent, but if your environment suffocates that potential, you'll shrink to fit it. People don't just rise to their potential, they rise or fall to the level of their surroundings. If you're constantly around people who play small, who settle, who laugh at ambition and fear change, you'll begin to believe that success is for someone else. You'll start doubting your ideas, your goals, your timing. Not because you're wrong, but because the noise around you becomes louder than the voice within you. Look closely at the conversations you're in every day. Are you discussing ideas, goals, new skills, and opportunities, or are you gossiping, complaining, justifying, and defending mediocrity? Your circle is either your ceiling or your slingshot. People who act like millionaires don't wait to be accepted into exclusive networks. They start by being intentional with their time and energy. They seek out mentors, join groups that stretch their thinking, and connect with people who are walking the path they want to follow. One powerful shift is to stop chasing comfort and start chasing challenge. Growth doesn't happen in easy conversations. It happens when someone calls you higher, when someone sees the blind spots you can't, when someone refuses to let you settle for good enough. Your environment isn't just physical, it's digital too. What you watch, read, and consume every day programs your beliefs. If your feed is full of drama and distraction, your thoughts will follow. But if your inputs are rich with insight, strategy, and possibility, your thinking expands. Surround yourself with growth, and growth becomes natural. Create an environment that makes discipline easier and excuses harder, because who you're around today is shaping who you'll become tomorrow. The words you speak shape the world you live in. The way you think determines the way you move. Millionaires don't just operate with more money, they operate with a different mindset. They speak the language of abundance. Abundance doesn't mean being naive. It doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means choosing to believe that solutions are possible, that opportunities exist, and that your current situation is not your final destination. Scarcity says, I can't afford that. Abundance says, how can I afford that? That small change from a statement to a question activates your brain to look for answers. It shifts you from shutdown to strategy. Most people trap themselves with their language. They say things like, I'll never get ahead, or nothing ever works out for me. These phrases sound harmless, but they become internal scripts that guide decisions, create hesitation, and attract limitations. Abundance thinkers speak differently. They say, I'm figuring it out. They say, this is challenging, but I'm growing. They frame problems as stepping stones, not stop signs. They choose language that reinforces capability, not helplessness. This isn't positive thinking for the sake of sounding cheerful, this is mental conditioning. Just like an athlete trains the body, a successful person trains the mind to see possibility, even when circumstances are tough. Consider the example of entrepreneurs who started businesses during economic downturns. While others panicked, they asked, what do people need right now? Where is the opportunity in this shift? That's abundance. It doesn't deny the storm, it navigates through it with vision. Your inner dialogue becomes your outer results. The person who constantly says it's not possible and never sees the open door, not because the door isn't there, but because their mind won't allow them to see it. This kind of thinking affects more than money. It changes your relationships, your leadership, your self-worth. When you think abundantly, you listen differently, you give generously, you trust the process, even when results are delayed. Start by noticing your language, replace fear-based questions with growth-based ones, reframe obstacles as chances to build capacity, speak like someone who already believes their next level is coming, because when your words shift, your world begins to follow. Desire is exciting. Discipline is uncomfortable. But it's discipline, not desire, that determines whether a person rises or stays stuck. Desire gives you a dream. Discipline gives you the roadmap. You can want to succeed, hope for a breakthrough, and even visualize the life you want. But if your daily actions aren't aligned with that vision, it's just fantasy dressed as ambition. The truth is, you won't always feel like doing what's required. You won't always wake up inspired. That's where most people lose. They rely on motivation, which comes and goes. Discipline doesn't care how you feel, it just keeps moving. Every millionaire you admire has had to make the hard choices. They've worked while others played. They've said no when it would have been easy to say yes. They've trained themselves to act out of commitment, not emotion. That's the edge. Discipline is saying yes to long-term vision over short-term pleasure. It's turning off distractions when your friends are scrolling for hours. It's keeping your word to yourself when no one is holding you accountable. It's showing up, even when the results haven't arrived yet. There's nothing glamorous about discipline. It doesn't come with applause, but it compounds silently. Every disciplined choice builds trust with yourself. Every small victory becomes a brick in your foundation. The gym at 6 a.m. doesn't show results after a week, but go long enough and it changes your identity. Studying for an hour a night won't change your life overnight, but it prepares you for doors that will open months or years later. This is what separates winners from wishers. Most people are reactive, they do what they feel. The disciplined do what's needed. They don't negotiate with excuses. They don't make room for laziness. They treat consistency as sacred. You won't always feel motivated to act like a millionaire. But if you act with discipline long enough, you won't have to fake it anymore. It becomes who you are. Gratitude is often misunderstood. People think it's soft. They think it's something you practice when things are going well. But gratitude is a strategic advantage. It's a mindset that creates expansion, perspective, and momentum even in struggle. When you operate from lack, you feel like nothing is ever enough. You chase success not out of purpose, but from panic. That energy shows up in your conversations, your business, your relationships. You rush. You compare. You operate in survival mode, always fearing that something is slipping away. Gratitude disrupts that cycle. It grounds you in what's already working. It reminds you of what you've overcome. And when you see your current season with appreciation, you show up with presence instead of pressure. Gratitude isn't passive, it's powerful. It doesn't make you settle, it strengthens you to keep building. It sharpens your focus. You stop obsessing over what's missing and start maximizing what's in your hand. That shift leads to better decisions. When you're grateful for your current client, you serve with excellence. When you're grateful for your progress, you stop beating yourself up and stay consistent. Gratitude fuels resilience. Millionaires don't just focus on gains, they reflect on growth. They practice gratitude daily, not just because it feels good, but because it shifts their psychology. It replaces entitlement with awareness. It turns moments into milestones. It brings clarity to chaos. Studies have shown that people who practice regular gratitude are not only happier, but they're more productive, have better relationships, and even sleep better. This isn't emotional fluff, it's a mindset that enhances performance. Think of a time you were thankful, even in the middle of pressure.
Didn't it shift your energy? Didn't it open your eyes to possibilities instead of problems? That's the power of gratitude. It doesn't wait for the breakthrough. It creates space for the breakthrough. You don't need to wait until you've made it to be grateful. Be grateful now for the lessons, for the progress, for the opportunity to keep showing up. That energy will carry you farther than any shortcut ever could. Now, I want you to remember something: nothing changes until you change. The millionaire mindset is not about a specific bank balance or a flashy lifestyle. It's about adopting a way of thinking, a way of behaving, and a way of living that aligns with the person you're becoming, not just the person you are right now. Your identity shapes your income. Your daily habits compound to create the future you'll live. The people around you either elevate or diminish your potential, so be mindful of the company you keep. Speak and think in the language of abundance, and you'll begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. And always, always choose discipline over fleeting desire. It's the quiet, consistent actions that will take you farther than any momentary burst of hustle. Gratitude, too, is your hidden weapon. It's a force multiplier. When you operate from a place of thankfulness, you'll attract more of what you need to succeed: more clarity, more energy, and more of the right people and opportunities. It's not just a nice feeling, it's a strategic tool. You are closer to your goals than you think. The work starts with you. The transformation starts with your thoughts, your words, your decisions. You can keep waiting for a breakthrough, or you can become the breakthrough. You can keep wishing for things to change, or you can change yourself and watch everything else shift in response. Take this to heart: the millionaire mindset isn't something that happens overnight. It's not something you can wish into existence, but it will happen when you decide that you are no longer willing to settle for the ordinary. When you choose to build your life on discipline, abundance, and consistency. So step into that new identity, speak that new language, commit to those new habits, show up even when it's hard, even when no one's watching, because success is not for the lucky. It's for those who decide every single day to live like the person they are becoming. And the moment you make that decision, you'll begin to see the results that have always been waiting for you.